you struggled here. It knows it. You struggled here. So here's a 2-minute follow-up that shows you right before your next one-on-one or your next coaching or your next sales conversation. You made this particular mistake twice. And so here is a short refresher that is very specific to the step or to the area where you made that mistake. Hello, and welcome to the Influence and Growth Mastery Podcast, where high-performing CEOs and entrepreneurs learn to scale smarter. I'm Tanya Gossage, founder of Gossage Consulting and the Power Connectors. Right here, every week, you're going to discover the real strategies in referral marketing, authority building, and AI-powered automation to help you attract high-ticket leads and grow through smart connections, not cold outreach. Let me ask you something. Do you know that seeking feeling when you realize that you've explained that same process over and over, maybe for the fourth time to the same person? Or when you bring on a new team member, whether it's a virtual assistant, virtual professional, or a contractor, or any type of employee, and you think, oh, I could have done that faster myself, because training them feels like a second full-time job. I know you've been there. I've been there multiple times. But if that's you, today's episode is going to change the way that you think about learning, training, and delegation inside your business. Today, we're talking about the future of e-learning, the trends that are going to define 2026, and more importantly, how you as a co-founder, oh my goodness, or a founder or a CEO of a service-based business that you can actually use to help you grow. And when I talk about this, oftentimes we think of e-learning being in, some corporate L&D department, but I don't want you to think of that way. But maybe inside of your CRM, inside of your project management tool, inside any type of tool, if you will, but inside the tools that your team uses every single day. Okay? That's what I want you to be thinking of. All of the tools that your team is using every single day. Because here's the big idea. Learning is becoming invisible. It's shifting from sitting down and taking a course to you learning as you work. And doing that with AI coaching you in the background and micro training that's built right into your daily tools. And you're probably like, how in the world is that going to happen? But when that happens, you're going to stop being the bottleneck. And training is going to stop dragging you out of your CEO role, and your team is going to get better, faster, without you holding their hand every step of the way. And you may be saying, like I would have said back in corporate, hallelujah, let's do this. So let's unpack what is coming as a trend in 2026 and how to turn that into a growth lever. Not another shiny object, okay? So recently, the e-learning industry released a breakdown of the top 7 e-learning trends that are going to define 2026. And that theme was very clear about personalization, AI coaching, immersive learning, that no longer experiments. It's becoming a standard. And so what I want to do is to translate that for you. The business owner who isn't, this is the business owner who's not running a Fortune 500 company, but is responsible for a team, clients, and growth. And so here's the executive level summary of where we're headed. Learning is now going to be moving inside the workflow, not off to the side. Wow. Just wow. AI isn't just creating content, it's acting like a coach. And I'm already using this today in some ways. So, microlearning is evolving from random bite sized lessons into continuous learning chains that allow someone through their day or that follow someone through their day. Okay, so success is shifting from did they finish the course to did they change how they behave and did it move the business forward? You get that? Okay, so for founders and CEOs, I want you to know that this is not an HR problem. It's a growth problem and a delegation problem. So if you want to learn the shortened ramp for new hires and reduce mistakes in delivery and protect your standards as you delegate more, then this is the way that your team has to evolve. So my North Star for this episode is very simple, very clean. How do we make learning invisible, measurable, and outcome oriented so that you can step deeper into your CEO role and your team actually keep up? And it's phenomenal. It can happen. So let's start with the biggest shift, and that's AI powered coaching. In the article that I read, it talked about how AI coaches let employees rehearse conversations, decisions through certain scenarios without any judgment, without any time pressure. Okay. So people are literally practicing difficult conversations with an AI coach 5 times before they sit down with a real person. And you may be thinking, how can this happen? Well, what's interesting is you can even do this with ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a voice in the advanced options to where you can do this. And I've demoed this a few times. It's pretty phenomenal, actually. You can go in, even preparing for a podcast, I can go in and Maple is the clone that I have in there. And I can go in and tell Maple that I am preparing for a podcast and tell Maple that I apologize, my dog's wanting up here in my lap, telling Maple that I am preparing for a podcast and I want her to interview me even about this specific topic and to come back and ask me various questions or objections to help me prepare for this. And so she can become my coach. And so imagine this inside your world. You don't need a fancy enterprise platform, honestly, to start using this. I mean, you can use ChatGPT, but this is something that it would look like. You can have an employee who practices how to respond to upset clients, doing it through role play. You can set the AI tone so that it knows your tone, your boundaries, your policies. You can do these through custom chat GPTs. I literally, when I was going through the my AI certification, the coach that I have, we had to do certain presentations and we had to submit our presentations. And so that presentation went through a feedback coach. And so before we sent it off, we had to put our presentation through the feedback coach, got feedback, and then we had to correct what we were doing as a result upon the feedback that we got. And so the AI feedback coach literally was her mind, if you will. So she put in certain criteria that literally would coach the presentations that we did. And so you could do this the same way in your business today. There are other coaching tools that I have built for my own team. For example, I've built a team of board of directors, and I have said to my team, they can go and ask questions about our business because I fed it business information prior to coming to me for certain things. This is the similar concept to what I'm talking to you about today. And so, if you have employees that you want them to practice on how to respond to clients, they can do that. Or you have a salesperson, a closer who you want to run mock sales conversations through this AI coach and throw them objectives and help them refine their responses. You can do that. Or you have a client success lead that practices how to reset boundaries or how to push back before having the real conversation. These things can happen. And so learning is no longer a one time event. It's a very safe practice arena that stays open 24/7. And so, why does this matter to you as a CEO? Well, here's the problem that it solves. You don't have to personally coach every single difficult situation anymore. Your team gets in more practice, more reps in less time with a very consistent feedback. I'll remember back in corporate, I used to face the challenge of people saying, when I ask questions, I get different feedback based upon the various people that I ask. Well, this can solve that in that everybody would get the same responses back with this type of scenario. So you can encode your standards into AI so that the coaching reflects your brand, your expectations, and the way that you do business. And everybody uses this coach prior to going to anybody else for counsel or for asking questions. And so if you feel like that your team never quite handles it like you would, then AI coaching is how you would close that gap, because you can put, if you will, I call it your brain inside of AI, then your brain comes back out and they're going to get those particular answers that you have fed into the brain. And so a simple first move would be, you don't need a full blown AI learning system to get started. You really don't. Pick one reoccurring scenario that absolutely drains you, whatever that may be. It could be a boundary issue, it could be reoccurring client objection that you're always getting, it could be some type of procedure that seems to be messy all the time that people struggle to get right. Put those things in AI and into this AI coach. And so that when the training is needed, the access is right there. But you can write a simple scenario script, say, client says X. Here's what we want to say back. Here's what we would never say. And then you just drop that into your AI tool of choice and then let the team practice with it before they ask you, hey, what should I say to this person? They don't have to come to you because they have it. And so that's where AI coaching in its simplest, scrappiest form, but it's on the exact same trend line as what big players are following. And you can do it as a small office, a small entrepreneur, a small CEO, or even mid-size, office or team. And so you may not even have a team right now, but you're preparing to get a team, because you are a CEO that is the bottleneck in your business and you're wearing all of these hats and you're wanting to start getting to a position to where you can start delegating. This is the perfect way to start preparing for this. Prepare the AI brain for this new team, whether it is, a person that you're going to be hiring to do these things, it's going to be a virtual professional, it's going to be a strategic partner, whomever it is, but you've got something that is going to be your coach so that people can go to. And so the next trend is the hyper personalization and continuous microlearning that's going to take place in 2026. Platforms aren't just saying, here's a course for managers. They're saying, you struggled here. It knows it. You struggled here. So here's a 2-minute follow up that shows you right before your next one on one or your next coaching or your next sales conversation. You made this particular mistake twice. And so here is a short refresher that is very specific to the step or to the area where you made that mistake. That's powerful. But again, let's bring that down to your world. The micro learning changes what it looks like into your business. So think about onboarding a new virtual assistant, an OBM, operations manager, project manager, or a specialist. Right now, that might look like a big standard operating procedure document. It could look like a Loom video that's in a Loom library of multiple videos, a couple of calls where you walk them through various things. That's linear. It's also heavy. And you're in the middle of everything. So just imagine that after that first client call, they get a 3-minute debrief video from you or from AI in your voice that explains how we think about clients in your company. Another thought that comes to mind, I've been working in the last few days about AI twins, a clone of you, or an AI model or avatar. You can even set those up to do this very same thing. And so after they complete their very first proposal, then a checklist pops up in a project tool of your choice, double checking all of the work, the pricing, the promise, the scope, using a micro checklist. Just kind of like what I said a while ago about the feedback coach. You can take things today, like my presentation, I put in there for it to grade my presentation to tell me what was good, what's not good, what do I need to change, what do I need to improve before I get on the stage to do my 18-minute presentation so that when I do, it's perfected. But even before weekly team meetings, a 90-second meeting leadership tip could come up, whether it's in Slack or Teams or whatever it is that you use, WhatsApp or whatever the tool is, reminding them of the standards that you want them to uphold. And I'm grinning because I was on a call my mom was on a call the other day with Dish Network, and my dad passed away, and I had gotten him that every year for Christmas for years. And we were trying to cancel it because he's passed away, and my mom doesn't watch Dish Network. She watches YouTube. And so we were trying to cancel it, and the lady was just going on and on and on and on and on. She didn't want us to cancel. She could give us that, and she could give us that, and she could give us this. And I got aggravated, and I was like, ma'am, we can appreciate your great customer service, but we want to cancel. And she was like, excuse me, ma'am, but who are you? And so I told her, and which I thought was odd. But anyway, she said, I'm not customer service. I am the loyalty department. And I thought, okay, she needs some coaching right now because I guess she thought that was more royalty than being customer service. But I guess in the loyalty department, they're working hard not to let clients go because I guess Dish Network is. Anyway, I shouldn't say too much on this YouTube because it might get banned, but that's where great training could have come in to give them tips before they actually get on a call. But it's a learning chain. It doesn't live in one training week, it follows a rhythm of real work. And so, why does this matter? Why does it matter for your growth? And so, this is the approach. This approach reduces, overwhelming fire hose training, just, giving us way too much at one time. It gives us what we need when we need it. And then it meets the people, just like I said, at the moment of need, and it protects your standards without you having to micromanage. You have enough to do. You have enough to do. Let AI take that off your plate. And then it directly serves your goal. You want 60 to 65% of your time being spent in doing the things that matter, like networking, building relationships, building referrals, not re explaining your business to your team over and over and over, or policies, procedures, all of the things, what customer service means versus the loyalty department. Oh my goodness, I got to get that off my mind now. But, one micro learning change that you can build this month, you could ask yourself is, what's one role or process that if we improve the performance by 20 to 30% would give us the biggest growth or the biggest relief? Wow. Just think about that. One process. And maybe it's lead follow-up. Maybe it's discovery calls. Maybe it is client onboarding, or maybe it's fulfillment of your signature services. And then you could map 5 to 7 moments in that workflow where people typically struggle. Where are they having a hard time? And then create just a tiny asset for each one of them. Maybe it's a 60-second to 2-minute Loom video for that, or a 5-second checklist. Maybe it's just a short script or a quick AI generated scenario using an avatar if you don't want to do it. Number 3, drop those assets where their work is actually happening, whether it's in your Go High Level CRM or any of the CRMs for that matter. But maybe it's in your project tool. Maybe it's in Slack or Teams. Maybe it's in an email automation that they get automatically. It can be in any of those places. But what you just did is you've created your first continuous learning chain for your team. And that's exactly where e-learning is going to be headed in 2026. And you've made it work at a small business speed. So taking what the really big guys are doing and making it work all the way down to our level. It's possible. I'm doing it today in my small little business. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. I've helped others do it. These chat GPTs today to make this coaching feasible, it's easy to do. You can do it. The next steps are just dropping these small bits of training in the right places where they need them, when they need them. And so where they need them and when they need them, that's important as well. And so one of the other things was the article, it highlighted AR and VR, virtual reality, becoming a standard for hands-on learning for technicians, seeing real-time instructions. I remember being back at early in my career working with a company who was trying to make that work. It was the neatest thing, but they weren't quite there yet. But today the technology is there. And so it's, warehouse teams rehearsing emergency drills and leaders practicing conversations in immersive simulations. There's people like us building virtual rooms, such as my Power Connectors headquarters. We have virtual rooms. And I was describing it to my husband the other day, and I was like, it's kind of like virtual reality. You want to go to the gym, you can say, I can text Sarah, my friend Jennifer, I can text anybody and say, hey, let's meet in the gym. And we can go to my virtual room, the gym, and pick a training that's embedded in the wall. And we literally can work out together. And I be in my home and she be in her home. And we can work out and talk at the same time. Now, how cool is that? Or I can be working here and stressed out and think, oh, I need a 10-minute break. And I can go to the meditation room and meditate for 10 minutes, set the timer on the wall for 10 minutes and come back to work then all relieved. And so these are the things that are happening in 2026. And some of us are already starting before it gets there. And which was so cool for me to read that, because I thought this is so exciting because I'm going to be ahead of the curve. And I did not even realize that some of that was the prediction of what is coming. Co-working spaces. I have a co-working space built out. You want to come and meet me in my co-working space? I may be there 2 hours one day, 4 hours another, just working in the space, and many of us can meet there. My team and I will work on projects in some of the co-working spaces. You want to have a party at night? Let's have a party. I have a party space. So all of those things are things that people are happening, and I will have a resource library full of resources that, for those that are in the right plan, will be able to get for free. And you can use them, rebrand them, sell them, use them for teaching. I don't care. They're there. They will be yours once you get in. But this is the very type of thing that I'm talking about. And so, when you think about virtual reality and some of these things, it does not always mean you have to wear goggles and headsets. It's the realistic practice in a safe environment with people. You can share screens and do walkthroughs of your tools and simulate things that are going on and have conversations with clients in spaces that seem real, and provide training in these spaces that seem real. And so, for you, it could look like, detailed screen share walkthroughs of your tools that simulate click by click of what someone would do with a real client. It could be recording mock client calls and letting your team annotate and pause and practice responding. It could be creating branching scenarios where simple tools where your team chooses how to respond and see the various consequences that happen. If you run a brick and mortar or operations heavy business, then, virtual reality is becoming more accessible extremely fast. And it may be soon more affordable to train someone in a virtual environment than to risk errors in the real one. And that's exactly one of the things that the article points out, which was high fidelity simulations replacing risky, expensive in-person drills. And so the takeaway here is, anywhere there's risk, any high stakes or high emotional load, ask yourself, can we simulate this first? safety before the cost of reputation, money, or relationship. And I was showing my power directors' rooms, my headquarters and my rooms, to a entity. I won't say their name, but to an entity that was one of my very first consulting clients when I left banking. And she was like, "This is phenomenal. The experience is so great." She couldn't even fathom the concept of, number one, dreaming it up, which made me feel good. And then number two, her mind started working, and she's in a huge corporation, multi-billion, and then thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. And she was like, "Could you build something out like this for us? Or could we build something out like this?" And I said, "Absolutely." And we started strategizing about training, about executive meetings, and about the experience that it would give people to be in this type of environment. And so, this learning trend is something that you should consider, whether you have a team or you need to build a team going into 2026. So, the next piece of this is one that I care about so much for you as a CEO. And by 2026, organizations are moving away from measuring learning by, did they complete the course, and toward, did they change how we act, and did it change our results? I've mentioned that previously, and that was one of the things that she and I spoke about. I was like, think about how the mindset of people will change in these types of environments. And when they have the opportunity to feel like they're leaving their desk and going into this other environment that's so positive, and to be with other people like this, not only will it change their behavior, the way they act, their mindset, you could get much better results. I believe that they will, but of course, it will be proven by data. But I want you to steal that mindset, honestly, right now, because it is truly possible. And so most founders are asking questions like, did my virtual assistant or did my employee watch that Loom? Did they go through that standard operating system? Did they attend that training that they were supposed to attend? And those are completion metrics. They matter. They do matter. They matter a little bit, but they don't necessarily guarantee you anything. But here's what does. The better questions are proposals going out faster and cleaner? Did client onboarding errors start dropping? Are we getting faster and fewer or are we getting fewer escalation messages? Is my time spent fixing things going down month to month? Is your time, the team's time, other higher up employees' time going down, fixing things month over month? Those are behavior and outcome metrics. And that honestly is where the future is headed. And that's how you're going to protect your ROI on training. And so here's a starter scorecard that you can actually use for a given role or a process if you want to track it. And so number one is ramp time. How many days or weeks until they can perform this task independently and to standard? And then number two is error rate. How many corrections, reworks, or escalations happen per month. And then number 3 is cycle time. How long does it take from task assigned to task done correctly? And then number 4 is a biggie, CEO involvement. How many times per month do you personally have to step back in to this workflow? Those 4 metrics will tell you if your new learning system, whether it's AI coaching, whether it's microlearning, or just better standard operating procedures. I keep wanting to say SOPs, and then I'm like, oh, they may not know what that means, but I know those of you in my audience do. But I don't want to take it for granted. But you will know whether or not those are actually working. If ramp time, error rate, cycle time go down while the CEO involvement decreases, you're winning. You are winning, and you're winning big. And that's what learning as a growth lever looks like. Wow, that's so powerful. And so let's make this practical. You don't need to implement all 7 trends at once because this is a lot. This is a lot packed into this one episode. And you don't need a giant platform. You just need to focus on a 90-day experiment that ties directly into revenue, retention, and your time. Okay? A focused 90-day experiment that ties directly into revenue, retention, and your time. And let me give you this simple roadmap. Step 1 is identifying the one constraint. That's week 1. I want you to ask yourself, what is the number 1 skill gap or process breakdown that's costing me or us the most money, time, or trust right now? Here's some examples. Leads aren't being followed up on consistently. New clients feel confused in the first 14 days. Delivery is solid but inconsistent across team members. You keep getting pulled back into the same issues over and over and over. Pick one of them and let that be your test. That's week 1. And then week 1 into 2, mapping the workflow and those failure points. For that one area, map the key steps on a simple Google Docs, whiteboard, whatever you want to create it on. But circle the spots where the mistakes are happening, where the people are asking for help, where they're slowing things down, where clients are complaining. Circle those. And that's where training needs to be live. You're going to know. And then weeks 2 going into week 5, for every one of those failure points, create a micro asset, training asset, whether it's a 2 to 3 learning Loom video, a mini checklist, a short script that you create, or a simple scenario. And then on top of that, add an AI coaching layer, a prompt where your team can rehearse that scenario with AI. I practice this email response with AI before you send it. A role play of a client conversation. Go into ChatGPT, into that advanced voice mode that I was telling you about. Give it this prompt and ask it to role play. Give it to your team member and have them do that. The goal is tiny targeted learning moments plus a safe place to practice. It's perfect. Either create something like that, do something like that. It's only costs you your $20 a month for having the plus of ChatGPT. It's mind-blowing at how phenomenal it is. Just give it the context and let them play, role play. And then weeks 3 through 6, embed this learning into tools that they already have. This is where learning in the workflow becomes real. Again, you already have ChatGPT. So take those micro assets and link them inside your project management tool. You can attach them to tasks, pin them in relevant Slack or Teams channels, embed them in your CRM as notes or templates, use Notion, include them in automations. When a certain task is assigned, send them this relevant micro asset. You can use Lindy. You can use other things for setting up automations. When a stage changes, a trigger or a check-in or a reminder gets set. How your team isn't, or now your team isn't going to training is coming directly to them at the very time that they need it. And that's going to be powerful. It's going to actually be game changing. And so let's go back to week 2 and then ongoing, because this is defining the behavior based key performance indicators. So for this 90-day experiment, you're going to choose one, a metric tied to speed. For example, time to complete a proposal. Number 2, one tied to quality, number of corrections per week. One tied to the CEO involvement, number of times I have to step in to fix something in this particular area. Track them for 12 weeks. And if they're improving your learning system is working. If they're not, you reiterate just like you would a product. Go back. What's not working? Fix it. And then weeks 4 through 6, appoint a learning operations owner. Even in a small business, somebody has to own this. So even in a small business, someone has to own this. It could be your operations manager, your leading virtual professional. It could be a team lead. It could be just an employee. It doesn't matter. Somebody needs the responsibility. And their responsibility is to maintain the micro assets and keep them updated, keep the AI prompts updated, keep an eye on the key performance indicator, and then report back every single month what's working, what's not working. My team reports to me how things are going on SEO, what's working, what's not working, what is working on social media. Our metrics would go over that stuff every single Monday. Every single Monday. They're letting me know open rates for emails, where we go over all of these things. If something is not working or there's a gap, we talk about how to fix that. So, same thing. So let's bring this home. The future of learning is not another big course, another content library, or another training day that pulls your team away from their work. The future is learning that's invisible, building into tools and workflows that your team already uses, learning that's amplified by AI coaching so your people can practice safely as often, do you hear me? As often as they need, without you, the CEO, having to personally mentor every single move. And so learning that's measured by behavior and outcomes. Did they finish the video? You do not want to go that route anymore. It's what improved. When you embrace that, a few things are going to happen. I promise you, please trust me. I've been there. New hires are going to ramp faster. Delegated work is going to feel safer. And your standards hold even when you're not in the room. And you finally have the breathing room that you've been looking for to do what you can and do what you do, which is build relationships, grow your ecosystem, and lead like a true CEO. And so here's your next step. Before today ends, when you're listening to this podcast, before today ends, I want you to write down just one area in your business where training is breaking down, and commit to turning it into your first 90-day learning experience. Not a course, not a big initiative, just one workflow, one AI coach, and a handful of microlearning moments in the flow of your work. So if you can build that and you can get a front row seat into how these 2026 e-learning trends can work inside your business today, you'll get a start to experience what feels like when learning becomes an engine for growth and not a task on your plate. I know that because why? I have been in your shoes before. This is Tanya Gossage, your Influence and Growth Mastery podcaster. I will see you again next week. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Influence and Growth Mastery podcast. If you're ready to attract high-ticket leads, scale with AI, and grow through powerful referral networks, visit my website, gossageconsulting.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with any CEO who is ready to simplify, scale, and succeed without the burnout. Until next time, stay influential and keep building smart connections that drive the real growth. See you soon.